Hi everyone, this is to bring your attention to an explosive story that's just breaking on the Tehelka website. It's a story done by my colleague Ashish Khaitan, the editor of investigations, and it's a story that completely overturns the noise and the discourse that there has been over the last week on the votes, the cash for votes scandal that is rocking Parliament. There are three aspects to this story. For the last week and actually for 2 years, we have believed that the UPA government had pushed through the nuclear vote successfully on the basis of horse trading and buying of MPs, which is an unseemly scandal that has stuck to it. However, over the last week, there has been a lot of noise over WikiLeaks cable published by The Hindu, where an American diplomat said that a low party functionary had shown suitcases of cash, which he said was lying around Satish Sharma's house to buy over MPs for the nuclear vote. When Tehelka was discussing how to do this story, we felt that the WikiLeaks cable was not really the heart of the matter because it was an indicative thing, there was nothing empirical about it, and it could not be proved in any way. So the really empirical piece in the story was the 2008 CNN-IBN sting operation, which had caught the cash for votes scandal on camera. So we really set out to do a story which would look at why that story had died a quiet death. We set out to do a strong story on how the UPA government had gone slow on the investigation, why it hadn't summoned phone records, why nobody had been penalized, why Amar Singh had got away. It was a story that was meant to nail the UPA government on a cover-up. But as Ashish embarked on this story, we stumbled upon a shocking piece of evidence which has not come into the public domain yet. The three aspects to the story now is that it was not the UPA government, it was not the Congress, and it was not even the Samajwadi Party that seemed to have been soliciting or looking for BJP MPs or any other party MPs, at least in this instance, that it could buy over. On the contrary, it turns out that it was the BJP that was hunting around for somebody to buy its MPs so that it could discredit the government, and it was really more of an entrapment. This is a shocking disclosure, something that no one would have ever imagined, something that you do not expect a respected opposition party to do. It would have been perfectly bona fide for them to expose a voluntary corruption on the part of the government, but to actively go out and solicit an act of corruption so that they can catch it on a sting camera and discredit a sitting government is really not something that you expect out of a respected opposition party in a parliamentary democracy like India. So that's one aspect of the disclosure. At the same time, while the Tehelka story shows that the Congress and the SP were not actively looking for people that they could bribe, it by no means exonerates these two political parties either, because though it looks that the BJP MPs were soliciting bribes, the Samajwadi Party and Amar Singh fell for those bribes, fell for that desire to be bribed. And Tehelka's position is that even when there is an entrapment, if you're a sound moral character, then you will not fall for that entrapment. It was perfectly right for Amar Singh to have either blown the whistle on them or refused to have engaged with them. Instead, he, through his functionary Sharat Saxena and Riyoti Raman Singh, did make contact with the BJP government, BJP MPs, and paid them off, which was captured on the CNN-IBN footage. So the Samajwadi Party still looks bad in it. The Congress Party itself and the UPA government also looks bad, not because, as the current sound and noise around the cash for votes scandal suggests, not because they were actively looking for MPs to buy, as I said, at least in this case, but because they have been responsible for a venal cover-up, both in the parliamentary panel that was set up to probe the scandal and the Delhi police's investigation. There has been a cover-up. They did not follow through very obvious trails that should have been followed through on: forensics, phone records, summoning people, asking the reporter for its account beyond what he had said by collating facts and contradictory reports. None of all that happened, and Amar Singh was allowed to get away. So these are the three pieces. The fourth piece in it, unfortunately, also shows the ambiguous role that the CNN-IBN channel itself played in this entire sordid story. They were really the repository of the truth. They were people that we expected would set the record straight on all of this. But as we know, that when the scandal really hit the nation, when the three BJP MPs stormed the well of Parliament and displayed the cash that they claimed had been paid to them, the BJP claimed that CNN-IBN was meant to simultaneously telecast its sting operation. But the channel held back on this sting. It claimed that the sting was inconclusive and that it wanted to do more due diligence. And so for 3 weeks, while a hot political debate raged, the channel had held back on its broadcast, which in its own wisdom was perfectly right to perhaps do so if it had not managed to do the investigation to the, to the kind of degree that it wanted to do. However, at this point, the BJP was claiming that Ahmed Patel, a very powerful senior Congress leader, Sonia Gandhi's political secretary, was on the tapes, as being part of this sting operation. The channel did not put this on record. It just kept saying its investigation was inconclusive. And when it finally did broadcast its investigation 3 weeks later, it continued to say that it was inconclusive. Yes, it showed that Ahmed Patel was not on its footage. There was in fact nothing to nail Ahmed Patel, and that is something that the Tehelka story has borne out. But it also seemed to, and now Siddharth Gautam, the reporter at the heart of the story, whose account has been made public for the first time, says that not only did the channel hold back certain footage which would have really nailed Amar Singh, he was also tutored to really skew the story in his responses, both during the broadcast and in his deposition before the parliamentary committee, to in a way give Amar Singh an escape route. Why would a channel do this? These are things that the channel must answer. Tehelka has based the story on 3 crucial pieces of evidence. The first is Siddharth Gautam's account of the, detailed account of what really happened. This is an account that nobody really asked him for. It's the first time he's gone public with it. It is a story which, as I said, has brought to light a shocking piece of evidence and a shocking part of the story that the nation was unaware of. The second piece of evidence that Tehelka has based its story on is 10 phone recordings that have never been put out in the public domain so far, and which was not even made available to the Parliament Committee. These are 10 phone recordings by the BJP MP on the night of 21st July, where, when the Ahmed Patel part of the story had fallen through, instead of just going home and, accepting that there was no bribe attempt, the 3 BJP MPs, disturbingly in collusion with very senior BJP leaders like Sudheendra Kulkarni and with the sanction of men like Arun Jaitley and, as it later turned out, LK Advani, actually on the night of 21st July, around midnight, began to phone dozens of people across the city, putting themselves up for sale, actively soliciting people to bribe them so that it could complete its sting investigation. That night, Suhail Hindustani, a BJP functionary, seen as a fixer, then netted Amar Singh, through Revati Raman Singh. Late at night, Revati Raman Singh then came to the BJP MP's house and asked them to come and meet Amar Singh the next day. All of that is part of the official sting investigation. What was not part of the official sting investigation was the 10 phone calls that the BJP MP Argil made to unknown middlemen, which are on record, actively saying that, here are 3 of us willing to be bought. What is it that you're going to pay? Come and pay us something. We're going to, we're willing to defect. And that is the disturbing piece of evidence which shows that the shoe was on the other foot. The Congress and the SP were not making frantic calls to the BJP. It was the BJP that was making frantic calls to middlemen asking to be bought. The third piece of evidence on which the Tehelka story rests is the Parliament Panel Committee report, which has now been accessed by Ashish Khaitan. And in that report, there are very disturbing and conflicting reports by all the players that were part of this story. Even CNN-IBN and the BJP that had collaborated on this sting in a very close way have given very conflicting reports. CNN-IBN has downplayed Sudheendra Kulkarni's role, Arun Jaitley's role, and that is another piece that is disturbing, because Siddharth Gautam says that he was only alerted to the story at 8:30 p.m. on 21st July, a day before the government was meant to go in for the vote, and he was given a number by seniors in the channel. It turned out to be Arun Jaitley's number. Arun Jaitley passed him on to Sudheendra Kulkarni. He went to Sudheendra Kulkarni's house. That's where they first met the BJP MPs, and they went to La Meridian to meet Ahmed Patel and Bhuta Singh's son and several other Congress leaders, along with Sudheendra Kulkarni, who was part of the investigation right through. As it turned out, when the BJP MPs and Suhail Hindustani came out of Le Meridian Hotel, they admitted that there had been no Congress leaders there. There was neither Ahmed Patel nor any leaders. When Siddharth Gautam, the reporter, checked the footage on the wired MPs, he found that really they were just walking around the lobby and there was no footage of Congress leaders or any transaction with Congress leaders. At that point, the entire team then shifted to Sudheendra Kulkarni's house, and a few minutes later, barely half an hour or so later, to the BJP leader Argal's house, where this frantic looking for a new bait began. Sudheendra Kulkarni was part of that entire proceeding. The next day, when they went to Amar Singh's house, when they went back to Argal's house, and Sharat Saxena came and put money out on the table, Sudheendra Kulkarni was sitting in an anteroom with the reporters, and when the sting was successfully concluded, he came out. According to the reporter, he hugged him, congratulated him. Mr. Jaitley drove over, got a debriefing from the reporter, congratulated him, and put him onto a phone conversation with Mr. Advani, who then congratulated the reporter. All of this shows a kind of proximity between a journalistic group, a journalistic sting operation, and a political party, which really raises a lot of questions. Another piece in the story is a statement that Jaswant Singh gave to Shekhar Gupta in the Walk the Talk, where he admits that when he saw Suhail Hindustani sitting around with LK Advani, he in fact warned Mr. Advani not to go in for a misadventure like this, and he claims that he was so disturbed that a leader as respected as Mr. Advani was, even transacting with a man like Suhail Hindustani. He says he was so disturbed that not only did he warn Mr. Advani, he's a man who never takes a drink before, evening falls, but apparently that day he even had a drink in the middle of the day because he was so disturbed by what his party was contemplating. When you see all of this put together, what really emerges is a very murky and a very disturbing story. I want to make it clear that Tehelka did not set out to do this story. It had no inkling that there was any aspect to the story other than what has already been in the public domain. As I said, it was, this has been a dead story for 2 years. It's only when the WikiLeaks story was published by Hindu and there has been this uproar in Parliament that Ashish Khaitan and I began to discuss what is it that we can really do? How can Tehelka add to this story? Our intention and idea was purely to nail the UPA government on the fact that it had gone slow on this investigation. There were enough trails, fingerprints on the wards, phone calls, the number plate of the car, n number of leads that any well-intentioned investigation could have gone into thoroughly. So we set out to really prove how there had been a cover-up because, as I said, nobody had been penalized. But it is, and so another colleague of mine, Raman Kirpal, embarked on this story. He went and met the Delhi police, he met, the CNN head, he met a whole lot of people. It's only when Ashish Khaitan, who had worked with Siddharth Gautam at some point, phoned Siddharth and asked him for what really had gone on and why there were so many loose threads and denials and counter-denials in this story. And it's only when Siddharth Gautam opened up to him and really told him what had happened, which was as late as Monday, that we really began to understand that there was a whole different dimension to the story. There will be those who will question the timing of the story, those who will think that Tehelka is bailing the UPA government out of a tight spot. I would like to assert that we are aware of this, we have laughed about it because it was not the intention, but equally that as journalists, we can never really look beyond the story and the truth. Our biggest armor, and Tehelka's history has shown that, is to go with a hot story as it happens. In fact, we are still working on the story as we are uploading it, and you don't hold back on a story and you go with the truth. There can be no strategy except truth, and that is what Tehelka has put out. It's a very calibrated story. If you read it, you will understand that beyond the broad type, it's a very calibrated story that really makes all the political parties look bad. It makes sections of the media look bad, and it also seeks to downsize the current noise over this debate. It is a very important debate. There certainly was a climate of horse trading. There was proof that there were some MPs that cross-traded. But there is a disproportionate amount of noise. We seem to be barking up the wrong tree. We must apportion blame where there is blame to apportion. And we must go back to examining some of the key things, which is that was this nuclear deal really in India's interest? Is the civil is the civil liability bill something that is weighted towards Indian interests? And thirdly, there should be an impartial investigation into what really happened in the cash for votes scandal. Thank you for listening in. This is a developing story. Do keep following the story of Tehelka. Thank you.